So I'm here with Laura Shigihara. She's well known for her music in Plants vs. Zombies. And yeah, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm really excited about your background because being a games composer is not exactly a really common thing.
Right.
So tell me a bit about it.
Okay, I was classically trained on the piano since I was 5, and I've always loved music and video games, obviously, but I came from an area that was really rigid about careers, so we were sort of brainwashed into thinking we couldn't have like a creative career. So I actually went to school for business and law, but during that time I made a CD of music that I was making on the side and gave it to my friend, and she, without telling me, gave it to a bunch of record companies in Japan, and they called my parents and were like, we want to give your daughter an audition, because I'm half Japanese, all my dad's side is over there. So I actually was offered record contracts there for singing, but I turned them down for personal reasons and realized at that point I want to do something related to music. So that's kind of how I started moving in a music direction instead of a business direction. And as for how I got into making music for games, I worked at a couple different places, and then at some point my friend asked me if I would do consulting for their company, or music consulting, and I ended up making a soundtrack for them. I did it for free because I was like, oh, I've never done this work before, I don't want to be the bottleneck, but I'm confident I could do a good job. And after that they liked it and hired me for a bunch of other stuff, so that's how I got started. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what are kind of the special challenges when you compose for games? Because before you obviously did it for linear media, or generally linear music, so what skill set do you need?
For composing for games, I think well, besides understanding like the flow of the game, you have to know like when, you know, certain things are more intense, when you want to pull back. There's certain kinds of melodic patterns that sort of grate on the player's ears that you want to avoid during certain parts. And it's sort of hard to explain. It's kind of a subtle thing that you pick up after doing it for a while, but I think one way you can pick up that skill set when you're getting started is to go back to games that you like, put it on mute, and just try to compose for that. And then you get an idea for like all the subtle things, how to make music that's not annoying to the player when they've heard it like 50 times. I think another technique for having music that is catchy but still can be heard on repeat is to make sure your arrangement is complex. So you don't just have like a main melody with like block chords, you have a main melody with like counterpoint melodies, and the bass is doing something else, and there's all these different things going on, and somehow that helps it be more possible to listen to it on loop. Yeah.
In your experience from, let's take Plants vs. Zombies, where does the games composer usually come in, and what makes sense to come into the team?
Oh, I guess it can happen at all different levels depending on the project. So most projects that I've worked on, I usually come in later. A lot of games, they'll already have the game in a playable state and they already have an idea what they want. With Plants vs. Zombies though, I was there from the beginning. So every time a new area was done, then I would work on it. So I guess it all depends like how involved you are in the project. If there's like dynamic music involved, and a lot of times if there's dynamic stuff, you have to work with the programmer to get everything integrated and stuff like that.
So is there a difference for you when working on a more ludic project or on a more narrative project?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
A more ludic, more playful project, or a more narrative project, like a film-like project?
Yeah, I think so. Like with things that are more like linear or more serious, I guess, that I feel like is a more emotional process. So like I was saying with Moon's the game, but it's more story-based, more narrative-based, and so because of that, you want to create music that matches like the feel and the emotion and stuff like that, and helps people empathize with what's going on. Whereas with the more playful project, I think it feels more like writing songs. Like you want to come up with something that's catchy that players will remember, but that doesn't get in the way. So yeah, it's like two different feels. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It was a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me.